Good morning. When Jesus died on Good Friday, all that his disciples believed came to a crushing halt. All of their hopes and dreams died on the cross with their friend Jesus. They couldn't believe what was happening. What do you do when you can't believe what's happening? As a church, we continue to celebrate Jesus' resurrection. But this season, actually the last few Easters, have been filled with doubt and disappointment, much like the first Easter. In the past few weeks, we've spoken about our need to expose ourselves to God through his word and sacraments if we want to grow in faith. We spoke about our outlook being focused on the resurrection and not on death if we want to develop into the best possible versions of ourselves, the versions that God intended when we were created. Today, and for the rest of this series, our focus will be on hope. We're all on a happiness quest. Hope is confidence that we'll find happiness. Faith believes God exists and wants us to be happy. Hope is a confidence that God will actually follow through. So hope is faith directed to the future, anticipating the good that is coming, reaching to grab the happiness that we may not currently have. How we feel about the future has a great impact on the present. Hope is the light for the soul. Without it, our inner world walks in shadows. Hope sheds light over our view of everything else, casting everything in a new light. Today in our gospel, we hear from the Gospel of Luke as he tells us what happened to these two disciples as they're walking back to their hometown of Emmaus, which is about a 2-hour walk from Jerusalem. They were walking away from the other followers of Jesus because they believed that his movement was dead. And there was a danger in being suspected of even having been a part of it. They're walking west into the sunset at the close of day, which adds an element of melancholy to the tale that Luke tells. It's getting darker and darker. And Luke continues, and it happened that while they were conversing and debating, Jesus himself drew near and walked with them, but their eyes were prevented from recognizing him. Jesus himself is walking right next to them, but they were blind to recognize him. This reveals the darkness of their minds and of their mood. Sometimes all we see is darkness. Our focus is only on the negative. Jesus asks them, "What are you discussing as you walk along?" They stopped, looking downcast. Have you ever asked a question and it just stops a person in their tracks? May have accidentally hit a pain point in their life. And that's exactly what happens here. To be downcast is precisely cast down from hope. One of them answers, "Are you the only visitor to Jerusalem who does not know of the things that have taken place there in these days?" It'd be like if someone's saying to you now, "What is this COVID that everyone's talking about?" Or, "What do you mean the war in Ukraine?" But they do explain why they're so dark. They said to him the things that happened to Jesus the Nazarene, who was a prophet mighty in deed and word before God and all the people, how our chief priests and rulers handed him over to a sentence of death and crucified him. They had followed Jesus because he was mighty. But we were hoping that he would be the one to redeem Israel. We were hoping. You can hear the sadness. In other words, they had stopped hoping. They had lost all hope. We have said before that there's 3 degrees of hope in our lives. The first degree is casual hopes. I hope it doesn't rain today. The second degree of hope are precious hopes. These are hopes for the major areas in our life. I hope for good health. Our precious hopes are far more valuable and deeper than our casual hopes. And when those hopes are dashed, it's impactful, sometimes heartbreaking, but a disappointment here need not leave us hopeless, because there's still a deeper degree of hope. That the deepest degree of hope is our ultimate hope. Our ultimate hope is what we rest our hearts and our souls upon. Our eventual, decisive, fundamental, and supreme value and worth. As Christians, our ultimate hope is communion with God in heaven for all eternity. The problem, of course, is that we mix up these different degrees of hope all the time. We turn casual hopes into precious hopes and make precious hopes our ultimate hope. This is what these 2 disciples had done. They were hoping for a political reversal of fortunes for the nation of Israel. Not a bad hope to have, but just not an ultimate hope. And he said to them, "Oh, how foolish you are, how slow of heart to believe all the prophets spoke. Was it not necessary that the Messiah should suffer those things and enter into his glory?" Freed from their focus on self, the 2 begin to listen to this stranger. They offer him food. This prepares them to recognize him, an outward action, a move toward God through hospitality and service. To turn outward and extend hospitality. And it happened that while he was with them at table, he took bread, said the blessing, broke it, and gave it to them. With that, their eyes were opened and they recognized him, but he vanished from their sight. In the breaking of the bread, their eyes are opened and they recognize Jesus, like the Eucharist we celebrate here at the altar. Then they said to each other, "Were not our hearts burning within us while he spoke to us on the way and opened the scriptures to us?" They got up and immediately returned to Jerusalem. Hope restored. They returned to their friends precisely to restore their faith and hope in turn. So what are you hoping for? In your quiet time this week, bring it to God and make it part of your prayer. God, what do you want to do with this hope of mine? How does it fit into your larger story? Maybe your hoping is too small. Maybe all of us need to hope bigger.